So we've been on the road here for about a week now, driving around the country. We're somewhere in California. We crossed over the Nevada-California line last night. And I just wanted to pull over on the side of the road and just say a few things that have been on my mind a lot, especially last night. Just driving through Vegas. You know, we just drove straight through there, and I don't know, there was just such a heaviness, you know, going through, and I just got my mind just wouldn't shut off. And then my ride this morning, I was just thinking about a lot of things, and I just felt like I needed to pull over and just share a few of those things. And you know, I was very blessed before all this stuff with Wine to Water. I had the opportunity to take a year, and in that year, I was able to study the Bible for a whole year, and it was one of the most impactful, one of the most influential times in my life, because up until that time, I actually didn't really feel like that there was much use for a guy like me. I didn't really feel like I had much value because of just my nature. I've always kind of been a little bit of a rule breaker and had a hard time following directions. And you would think, though, that maybe somebody like me studying the Bible for a year that would maybe make you feel worse. But that's not really the case. And I want to talk about two stories that were life-changing for me, and I think are very important for what's happening right now in our culture and our society. One that stands out to me is a story of a judge. So before there were kings in Israel, there were judges that ruled over Israel and that helped to kind of keep the peace. And one judge's name was Jephthah, and he was a bit of a unique one because he was actually an outcast. He was the son of a whore or a hooker. I'm not really sure which one's the politically correct version, but he was always looked down upon by his brothers, and they talked bad about him, and then they eventually just kicked him out of the family and kicked him out of Israel altogether. And the Bible says that, you know, him being this outcast and being kicked out, it says that a band of worthless fellows gathered themselves about him. And what was crazy is not too long after that, Israel gets in a really hard, tight spot. They're being attacked by the enemy, and they're potentially getting ready to lose Israel as a nation. They may be losing a very important war, and so the men of Israel, Jephthah's brothers, come to him and his band of worthless fellows, and they ask him for help. And you know, instead of him saying, whoa, yeah, remember me, I'm the guy that you don't like because my bloodline's not pure like yours. You know, I'm not good like you guys. I'm the son of a hooker. You didn't like me then. And no, now you're going to come call for me for help? Yeah, no, thank you. He didn't do that. He knew that Israel was in need, and he accepted. He did say that when we win this battle, because the one thing he always knew, regardless of his bloodline or his purity or whatever, he knew who was king. He knew the one true king. He knew that God was on his side. And so he knew that he would win that battle. And he said, when we win this battle, I will be the next judge. And they won. And he became the next judge of Israel, the son of a whore. And him and his band of worthless fellows came and saved the country. And not too many years and generations later, a very similar thing happened. Israel was in turmoil. The very first king ever in their timeline, King Saul, had kind of lost the plot. And everything he was doing, it got to a point where it was very self-centered. His decision-making was all about himself and furthering himself, and instead of being about God, who was the original one who anointed him in that place. And so God told Samuel, a prophet, he said, there's a new king. I'm going to choose the king now. And he's going to be someone after my own heart. And he chose a young boy, David, that is obviously well known throughout our society and culture, King David. But a lot of people don't know that when King Saul was still in leadership, he knew that there was something special about David, and he didn't want him there. He was trying to kill him. The people loved David, and they loved his direction. He was very real and true, and his love for the Lord was evident in everything that he did. And so King Saul was trying to kill him, and so he made David run and flee Israel. And so David had to live in these caves in the outer lying regions. And the Bible says that all who were indebted and disheartened and discontented, and all the people that were just basically pissed off, who weren't welcome in Israel, they began to gather themselves about him. And these people ended up, many of them becoming his mighty men, his warriors that protected each other and protected himself. And then Israel got into another really tight spot. Not long after that, Saul and Jonathan passed away, and we have a situation where Israel, the kingdoms are breaking apart, and it's starting to fall apart. And David and all these outcasts, these outlaws, come together, and they save the day. You don't have to be a genius to figure out there's something broken right now in our country, in our world. You don't have to drive through Vegas and think about all the innocent lives that were lost because of some sickness, some evil that's been spreading it's seemingly unstoppable right now. You don't have to be a genius to figure out something is wrong right now. And I think a lot of people have looked to politics to try to fix these problems. And to be honest with you, I think our politicians, unfortunately, might be making things a little bit worse. All they can do is fight over things. Even religion, people have turned to that, and I think a lot of our religious figures, I'm not sure that's helping very much. And I think this may be one of those times in history where we need the outcasts. We need those people living on the edges, the fringes of society, who maybe don't feel welcome. And you know who you are. You know exactly who you are. Those of you that are on the edges, you may not feel welcome in your local church, or may not really feel like you fit in there, or you just don't feel like you belong. But deep down here, you know who the King is. And you know that deep down you've been called for something much greater. I think now is one of those times in history where we need those people like you, those outcasts. And the King, the one true King, is calling you out right now. This country, this world needs you. And the beautiful thing about your community is that it goes beyond ethnicity, race, goes beyond different religious backgrounds and upbringings. There's one thing that unites people like us that don't really feel like we have it all together. That we know we're imperfect people. But if we have that common thread that we know, without a doubt, the one true King and the one that's called us for something far greater, that can unite us. And so I guess I don't even really know why I pulled over, and I'm not even really sure what exactly I'm trying to say. But I just want to be an encouragement to you guys, especially those of you who are out there on the fringes of society right now that don't really feel like you have a place. We need you right now. We need you to believe in who you really are, who you were created to be. You may be sitting in a prison cell. You may be behind a bar. You may be a tattoo artist. You may be turning wrenches in a bike shop. You might be a stay-at-home mama that just haven't figured out her place and just wondering there's got to be something more to this life, and you feel deep down that you've got something else to give and you just don't know what it is. now would be the time to figure that out because we need you. That book that sometimes we're afraid to open because we think it's full of judgment and condemnation, if we could just take time and open it up and pour over it, I promise you'll have a different experience. Because the King, when he came last time, he didn't come here to condemn the world. He came here to love and to serve us and to lay down his life as a ransom for all of us. Then he's coming back. The King's coming back, and he needs us to get this place ready. And it's not ready. There's so many more people that need to know of his love and not of judgment and hurt and pain, but that need to know how much he cares for them. And we need you to help with that. Thank you guys for your love and your prayers throughout this ride and this time. We look forward to keeping you updated as the days go on. Y'all, thank you for believing in us.